What's up guys, and welcome back to this very special series of games between Flash and Bisu. So if you stuck with me through the series so far, this is the deciding game. So it has been a best of 5 and this is game number 5, so we're obviously tied up at 2 apiece. This series has come out on consecutive days. So in other words, game 4 was yesterday, game 3 the day before, etc, etc. So if you haven't seen those and you're showing up for the first time and you're just discovering this video today, go do yourself a favor, watch those games first, then come back to this one because you get the full story and sense of this series, which has been absolutely hype so far. So our final game of the series is on Andromeda, I think it's the right way of pronouncing it, another one of the old school funky maps. It's a cross spawn, Flash here in orange, Bisu here in red. And this has been a wicked interesting series. So we've had basically 3 games where Bisu has gone some version of Arbiter, and 1 game where he went carriers, and Flash has consistently gone with a tank expand with a couple of Marines in 3 of the 4 games. He hasn't done the standard Vulture expand once. So they've definitely mixed up their builds and it's been a very, very fun series. Bisu on the previous game was ballsy enough to go Nexus first in an absolute must-win game. So it's for context, Bisu has just won to level the series up at 2-all. So he's the one that's got a little bit of momentum, and this map feels very, very similar to Circuit Breakers in terms of its setup. I actually played on this before. I do remember this layout now. And Bisu's decided, well, you know what? A Nexus first was a winning formula in the previous game, so why don't we have another go? Flash walling in here and doing what looks like is going to be a gasless expand because he hasn't taken his gas yet, so factory is no longer an option. I think the gasless expand against the Nexus first will go quite nicely, and perhaps Flash hedging his bets here thinking, maybe he's going to do Nexus first again, and it gave him a big advantage in the previous game, so I'm going to go with gasless and see how I do. So there is the command center. And I think this is going to set Flash up in a very, very strong spot here. Walled in nicely. Can't even get his probe in. He can shoot the probe in the face. Bye, probie. Flash scouting around. Still hasn't discovered where Bisu is or what exactly is happening. So that's it, guys. Variety Broodwar. That's what we're all about here, doing some of the OGs. Part of me, as I've said in the previous games, is hoping that Flash in his final ASL will match either against Bisu and or Jaedong. And even if he doesn't, just the nostalgia factor. You know, these guys were the best. And this was 10 years ago this grand final was played. And if Flash somehow makes it deep in ASL 21, I really hope he runs into some of the legends like Jaedong and or Bisu along the way. And this is just a tribute to the OG and the GOAT and the best to ever do it. So also, funny enough, these are genuinely games that I've never watched. So for me to tell the story, it's as authentic can be. It's a very, very fast 2-gate core from Bisu. This definitely is going to give him an edge to be able to attack. And let's see what our friend Flash decides to do. Is this you've got minerals in base? Oh, you do. Oh my word. This is the weirdest map. So you get a mineral only in your own base, which is why he's walled. Where's the mineral only for Protoss? Must be up here. Well, keep an eye on that. I do not actually know this map at all, so it's kind of fun to learn a new map while I'm busy. So Flash now making his first factory and really, really trying to exploit the economic greed choices that this map affords you. So we are getting range, and I think goons would be good. What were we shooting at with our Dragoon? I expect it might have been our scouting SCP. No, it wasn't. What is he shooting at? Yeah. Ah! The generators. So this must obviously block some pathing somewhere along the line. First goon is on the way here to apply some pressure. He's also making a bunker. Wow, so really minimal effort from Flash to protect his base. I think he's going to prioritize siege mode. So a very turtly start from Flash. And I think he can fire on this depot without being in range of the bunker. Oh my god, look at this sub 5-minute third. That is insane. So greedy. How does he get away with a start? A quick third for Bisu as well, though, to be fair. And he kind of expanded on the low ground and then took this. So this is his version of the in-base minerals. So both players understanding that the nature of this map is one where you've got to get yourself take advantage of the in-base minerals as quickly as you can. So Flash will land his command center here, and I think he will siege up probably on the high ground. There we go. And that'll work really nicely. It's going to be very difficult for these tanks to fire here until he has observers, by which case he'll probably have a second tank, and that'll be more than enough to hold ground. So Bisu retreats, and it's got to look for a different way to harass or apply pressure. And he's going to go with Reaver. Okay, so only the second time in this 5-game series where we've seen Reavers out of Bisu. I can see this is being useful though, because Reaver drops, or just even potentially sending some Reavers in here, dropping back here potentially, will be very difficult for Flash to defend with the very greedy approach that he's taken to the game thus far. First shuttle arrives here, so oh my god, there's also this tucked away little base, so he can take himself a fourth if he wants to. Wow, these guys have clearly mapped out and planned. So here Flash scans and sees the main. You can see the Robotech. Now the bunker has served its purpose. That's the end of that. And I think now Flash will probably just normalize here. Just they've both got up to so many workers so fast. Hasn't actually established a base here. Look at this. Look at this. Just on location. Totally ballsy. Crazy stuff. Scans here and sees nothing. And then scans the natural. Just trying to understand what tech might be there. So our first little attempts to do damage with our Reavers. Been blocked thus far. Bisu's never really been known as much of a Reaver player, but I imagine back in 2010 it was definitely something he was doing as the exception as opposed to the norm. From what I've seen here, he likes to play a lot with Arbiters, and where the map would allow it, he would play Carriers. It's just now wanting... What do you want to do with your Reaver here? I don't know. Uh-oh. This is a very dead goon. Can he shoot? He can! Oh, nicely done. Oh, the siege tanks tidied it up though. Doesn't get any damage with the Reavers, and if this base goes unscouted, I am fearing for our Protoss friend. Scouts the main again and sees Arbiters. Okay. Fair enough. This piece is going to do a little bit of a push here. Flash has moved his tanks out predominantly. Loses a goon. Decides not to engage. Kills both observers. Flash just quietly expands here. Bisu takes his fourth. So, I mean, in terms of bases, we have parity, right? We have a 4-basing Terran versus a 4-basing Protoss. And we probably need to be a 5-basing Protoss. We could get there pretty quickly. I think that's what Bisu's setting up for here. I guess the problem is that this is totally unscouted. And if Flash gets to mine 4 bases with the resources, soon to be 5, because he's made himself another command center, I just think he's just going to be unstoppable. Like, how the heck do you beat that? Does he fly down here with the shuttle? Come on! Scout him! Check it! Check it! Sieges up here and establishes his 5th. Bisu decides to do the same. Good spread on the tanks here. I think Bisu's going to go for an engagement. I don't think Flash is going to be able to hold all of this, especially if he's got no mines protecting his tanks, which he doesn't. The Volta's also a little bit behind there. And the Reaver also coming in to make his presence known. Splitting his forces off though so that the high ground tanks can evolve, and I don't think that's ideal. I think Bisu needs to re-micro this to focus on this base only. So it does kill the tank, forces a lift off, forces the workers to retreat. But here then going into an area where I think Flash is quite nicely entrenched. Could really do with scouting this position, man. That is going to be such a huge difference maker in this game. First Arbiter shows himself, and I can almost sense that there's going to be a recall in this game. It just feels like the design of this map makes Arbiters a beautiful, beautiful thing. So the Zealot is going to come in here and discover what he needs to discover. That there's a base here. Hello. What is the red that I can see here? That's a Zealot just tucked away. And the whole Bisu army immediately responds to go and shut this base down. I don't know if Flash is actually going to bother to compete. He does scan the army. I don't think he's going to contest this base. Maybe he is. Let's see. I was convinced that he was going to go after this. But he's just sending a pod of units. Making a pylon here as well. A lot of mines between Flash and this area, and the map's kind of being split along those lines. Oh, the retreating SCVs are really ripe for the plucking here. So Flash has quite a lot of SCVs, so losing 4 or 5 is not going to make a massive difference. It's just annoying more than anything else. So our command center's floating away, and Beast is like, screw you, man, that's my base. And that definitely pushes him right back into this match. He's fully maxed out. Recalls here into Flash's main. And this is very, very painful. Flash's army is miles away from this. He's going to get himself supply blocked, which he now is. His tanks on the low ground are doing a lot of good work, helping cleaning this up. Does eventually do it, mainly with vultures. And 196 plays 140. Feels like if Bisu wanted to empty the clip, he could. He's got so many bases. He's definitely in this game. No doubt about it. Flash has got this safe and sound though. All those mines as well. I'm just scanning to see what the Arbiter's up to. I want to definitely get some EMPs off. So the other 2 mains are in Bisu's hands. And for as long as that remains the case, Terran is in a spot of bother. He might have got hit with an EMP there. He's only got 4 energy left. Seems like an obscurely low amount. 59, okay. So it's going to take some while to charge up. So we should be safe for the time being. And Bisu just seems to be playing the game of Scans the main to check what is happening. It's a double arbiter build. Just zooming out here to get a view of what's happening. That's just scanning around to see what the army's doing. Scan just confirmed there was nothing there. Bisu just seems to be clearing mines for the time being. Flash just sees what his army looks like. Throws down a preemptive stasis. He's going to go in here. I don't know about this engagement. Flash has got his vultures in such a good position. There's no real flank. Yep, he does drop the odd zealot bomb and he does have a stasis. But yeah, Bisu's just traded very badly here. He's went from a supply lead to a supply deficit. And I just don't think that was the right engagement. There's a reason for the expression that sometimes he's just too Bisu. This is kind of where these came from, where he would take what you would consider to be relatively donk-ish fights for someone of his skill level and experience. And now Flash suddenly wants to get involved in a fight on Bisu's front door. And that's not good. A fully maxed out Flash, although he sieges up and he gets frozen pretty much at the same time. I like a relatively decent trade here for Bisu, but he doesn't have a lot of units. Got to send some down from the top side. The overwhelming majority of Flash's army is in this quadrant of the map. Bisu needs to flank to try and thin the numbers, and this is going to be a challenge. You can see kind of random pods of units is the name of the game for now. Does have the science vessel with us. Could throw down yet another EMP, which would be annoying. But I've seen and watched this game enough to know that when Terran's on your front door, it is very, very difficult to get them off of your front door. Even if you're sending random little individual units to fight. There's so much red everywhere though, but I just feel like Flash has got enough money to be able to trade and squish still. And I don't know if Bisu's going to be able to thin down this army enough. Let's send some units from the top side to try and fend off this little harassment pod on this base, and he's going to just, I think, hold it. Very, very tight, but nicely done. So a lot of his main production is here, though, and you can see Bisu moves into like a 50-60 supply deficit. And as valiantly as he's fought, it looks like Flash is going to take this game, and with that, the grand final of our Sino-Korean Carnival, played back in 2016. 10-year anniversary of the greatness of Flash, huh? I did call another game a bit too preemptively, but I don't feel like I'm going to get it wrong twice. (3-2) mech, just impossibly difficult to play against. Flash took the middle because, you know, he's Flash. It's a little bit of counter-production, counter-harassment or counter-attack here from Bisu. But he's got a 60 deficit of supply. There's no world in which that changes. Did manage to get a few units in here. And Flash has just given this game. He got off to such a strong start with those early bases. He got to mine some here undetected. Just a masterful game of his, this one. Really, really well done. And all of Bisu's tech is going to be gone. He's all over him here as well. Just a matter of time before the great man taps out and concedes a 3-2 win against the greatest of all time. Played on stage, grand final, televised, unbelievable showcase, unbelievable stakes, and a really, really good showing by both players. Great to see. Drop some TTs for a mind drag from heaven there. Yeah. Oh, that was really beautiful. Really, really, really beautiful. Credit to Bisu for fighting valiantly. He doesn't want to give up. Wants to fight until the very, very end. Still finds time and energy to D-Matrix some freaking vultures. And that's that, guys. I just want to say, if you've tuned in and watched every game of the series with me to experience this as a full story, I just want to say thank you so much for watching and supporting me through it. If you've just watched today's game and enjoyed it as a standalone game between Bisu and Flash, thank you very much for that. If you want to go back and watch the other games to get the full context of the series, I strongly recommend it. It is well worth it. The last thing I would ask is, if you do enjoy some of these classic tournament series of Brood War and you'd like to see me do more of them, please do let me know. And until tomorrow, when I bring you something a little different to what you would have seen for the last few days, thank you so much for watching. Take it easy. See you soon.